My husband's parents demand DNA test, revealing a shocking inheritance that changes everything. Alice stood in her kitchen, the smell of freshly brewed coffee heavy in the air. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the well-worn countertop that had become a canvas for her creative work. This was her sanctuary, where illustrations blossomed and dreams were designed. Yet today, an unsettling knot twisted in her stomach. It started as a casual comment over dinner, but Anna's unexpected challenge ignited a storm. "You've always felt different," Anna had said, her voice slicing through the clatter of forks and casual laughter. The words hung in the air. A brick dropped in a still pond, sending ripples of tension across the dining table. Everyone froze. Jason, her husband, and even the kids, who were usually lost in their own playful worlds. "Are you implying my marriage isn't what it seems?" Alice feigned laughter, trying to obscure the chill creeping down her spine. But the tremor in her hand betrayed her, nearly spilling her drink. A week later, the ominous envelope arrived. The DNA test results. Jason opened it with shaking hands, his expression morphing from curiosity to disbelief and then a deeply twisted grimace. It felt surreal, the chaos of emotions crashing like waves, the fear, anger, confusion swirling within her heart. The fallout was immediate. Alice became the target of Anna's relentless scrutiny. The usually charming family. Dinners turned into a courtroom, eyes darting and whispers buzzing like angry bees. She felt the walls close in, thick with judgment, silence piercing each moment like a knife. "It's not just about you, Alice. It's our family legacy," Anna snapped one evening, her voice dripping with disdain. The words stung, as if they held the weight of generations. Alice's heart raced, a visceral response to the hostile atmosphere, the air thick and suffocating. Despite this tempest of emotions, Alice buried herself in her work, creating images of beauty to counter the chaos that swirled around her. Each stroke on the canvas was a desperate grasp for normalcy, yet inside she was unraveling. What kind of legacy could her own existence possibly represent when everything she thought she knew crumbled to dust? Then came the revelation that twisted her gut even further. Jason's heritage was tangled in this web of deceit. He had been as unaware as she was. The darkness of their family history lurked, shadows creeping with every fleeting glance shared between them. One afternoon at the park, Alice overheard a conversation between two neighborhood gossips. "Did you hear about the Thompsons? Oh, the shame! They've got secrets that stretch back decades," one woman gasped, her eyes wide with incredulity. Alice's heart raced. Could this be connected to her? The sinking feeling deepened, a sinking rock in her chest. As it all spiraled, Alice found herself drawn to a local historian, a mysterious figure who had whispered of an informant with knowledge that could untangle the truth. Would this be the linchpin to understanding her family's dark past? Or would it lead to further ruin? Her throat tightened, battling uncertainty. Did she dare pursue it, knowing the truth could rip apart everything she and Jason built? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I have to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube canceled their subscriptions without warning. Just check out the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're there, leave that like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching the channel from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Alice's heart pounded as she stood in the park, the chatter of children and dogs barking barely registering. All her thoughts spiraled around the historian she planned to meet. A figure hidden in shadow, yet she held the key to everything. It was risky, but it felt like the only way to untangle the knots tightening in her chest. With each step toward the small cafe, where they agreed to meet, her mind raced. What if the stories of long-buried secrets were true? What if her life turned upside down again? Just as she approached the door, thoughts wondering about the possible revelations twisted her stomach into knots. "Hey, I'm glad you came," the historian greeted her with a nod, eyes glimmering with an unnerving knowledge. They settled at a small table, the aroma of coffee mingling with dread. Their conversation unfolded quietly at first, discussing the community's myths and old legacies. But then, out of nowhere, the air shifted. "You know, Alice," they said, leaning in, urgency lacing their tone. "What I'm about to tell you changes everything." Alice's breath hitched. "Your family isn't just tangled in rumors. It's a much darker history. At its core is a betrayal that someone close to you has kept hidden." A lump mounted in her throat, heart thumping like a drum. "What do you mean?" she whispered. "Ties to the past, deep ones. Your mother was involved in a scandal, a secret so severe it has rippled through generations." The historian paused, gauging her reaction. "You were adopted, Alice. There's a reason you feel different. Your birth parents, they were part of something clandestine." Everything felt like quicksand. The walls closed in as too many pieces fell into place. Her mind raced back, moments with her mother, the odd glances, the loaded silence when topics of family came up. Why didn't anyone tell me?" she stammered, her vision blurring. The depth of her identity shattered like glass. The historian continued, urgency now raw. "Your parents were involved in a faction that crossed moral lines, risking everything, including their own children. What I know could shatter more than just your legacy." But before Alice could respond, a loud crash erupted outside the cafe. Glass shattered as a figure smashed through the front window, a man shouting in a panic. The cafe erupted into chaos, people diving for cover. Alice's heart raced. She instinctively grabbed the historian's arm. "What's happening?" The man, wild-eyed. "We'll all be in danger." Gasps filled the room. Instinct kicked in. People pushed back, uncertainty washing over their faces. In that moment, Alice's mind spiraled faster than ever. Secrets, danger, and revelations collided. Who was this man? More importantly, why were they all in danger? The historian's face paled, realization dawning like a storm. "They can't find out about you. Not yet. You need to go." Fear ignited inside her. "What do you mean? About me?" But before she could grasp what it all meant, the man screamed again. "We have to leave, now!" All logic slipped away as adrenaline took over. What was her past, and who were these people chasing it? The stakes soared as terror threaded through the air, leaving Alice with more questions than answers. She grabbed the historian's hand. "We can't run without knowing why!" But the urgency of escape loomed larger than the storm of confusion swirling inside her. They bolted from the cafe, the ominous threat lingering behind them. What had she stepped into? And who was watching? Alice was poised on the edge of a cliff, unsure of where the fall would take her. Each pulse of her heart echoed the uncertainty of her very existence. As they burst onto the sidewalk, chaos surged around them. Shouts echoed. People froze in disbelief. Alice's heart raced. She glanced back, the cafe already swallowed in. Confusion, screams blending with the sirens wailing in the distance. "Keep moving," the historian urged, their grip firm on Alice's hand. Fear pulsed through her veins. They ran, the concrete beneath their feet a blur. Where were they going? Was there safe ground anymore? "Why would anyone be after me?" Alice breathed, panic clawing at her throat. "I don't know, but they can't know you're connected," the historian replied, voice strained. "We have to." But a sudden crash caught them both off guard. A black van screeched to a halt, tires burning on the asphalt. The driver jumped out, face masked, eyes wide with desperation. "I'm here for you," he shouted at Alice, waving them over. "We don't have much time. Who are you?" Alice shouted back, her body rigid with suspicion. "What do you want with me?" The masked figure stepped closer, hands raised in surrender. "I'm not your enemy. Please, just listen. You're in danger. They know." Everything inside her screamed to run, but instinct told her to stay. "Danger? What are you talking about?" Before the man could respond, the historian's expression shifted, the color draining from their face. You didn't tell her?" Alice's stomach dropped. "What? Tell me what?" "Your birth parents weren't just involved in something clandestine," the historian stammered, words faltering. "They weren't actors in the shadows. They were the leaders of a group, an underground organization." "What?" Alice gasped, her heart racing faster than her feet. "Why does that matter? What group?" "They were known as the Guardians," the historian continued, voice low and urgent. "Protectors of a secret so powerful that it could shake entire countries. They believed they were doing the right thing, but it turned into something monstrous." "Monstrous?" Alice echoed, shock freezing her in place. "What do you mean by that?" From behind, footsteps thundered, urgency replacing the momentary stillness. The chaos swelled anew as people scattered. "Run!" the masked stranger shouted, his eyes darting. "We don't have much time." Alice's mind spun. She wasn't just adopted. Her life was a tapestry woven with threads of hidden power and danger. "Wait!" she screamed, gripping the historian's arm. "What does this mean for me?" Just then, a spine-chilling realization washed over her. The historian had known more than they let on. "You have their blood," they murmured, their gaze piercing through her defenses. "Their legacy flows through you. They're afraid of you." "What?" Alice felt as though the ground had shattered beneath her. "What are you saying?" A blinding flash erupted in the distance, followed by an explosion. The sky lit up, an inferno breaking free, sparks raining down like confetti. "Get in!" the masked man roared, reaching towards her. Alice hesitated, the weight of this revelation crashing over her. The truth had come like a storm. She wasn't just a bystander. She was part of something so much greater. Something that tied her family's dark past with the present in a way she couldn't comprehend. "Who are you?" Alice cried, desperation twisting her voice. "We're allies," he insisted, urgency ripping through his tone. "And we need you to understand. They won't stop until they get what they want." Alice felt the world spin. The fight for her life became a battle for her identity. Was she ready to embrace whatever legacy awaited her? As the sirens wailed and chaos reigned, one question echoed in her mind. Who was chasing her, and what did they want with the truth? Alice's heart thudded loudly in her chest as the sirens wailed. The chaos around her blurred into a distant hum, only amplified by the panic in the masked man's eyes. She had a choice to make, but everything felt wrong. "Get in!" he shouted again, urgency threading through his words. Still hesitating, Alice shot a quick glance at the historian. What do you know about him? She needed answers. Trust felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Before the historian could respond, the black van door swung wide, revealing its interior, a dark and volatile promise. The masked figure glanced over his shoulder. "We can't waste time, please!" A sudden explosion flared from the cafe behind them. Sound echoed like thunder, the shockwave knocking Alice back. She stumbled, her breath hitching. "Now!" the masked man urged, reaching for her. With a push of adrenaline, she grabbed the historian's hand, pulling them both toward the van. The moment she stepped inside, the feel of the cold metal sent a chill through her. Jason's face flashed in her mind, his laughter, his love. This all felt like a nightmare spiraling from reason. The masked driver slammed the door shut, locking them inside. The urgency was suffocating, the air thick with a tension that left no room for doubt. Alice turned to the stranger. "You need to explain." Instead, he pulled something out from his jacket, a small, old photo. "You're not just any heir," he insisted, urgency lacing his voice. "You're the key." As he handed her the photo, Alice's breath caught. It showed two faces she recognized, her late parents. But there was someone else, a man with a sharp jawline, eyes piercing and familiar. This is who?" she stammered, shock flooding her senses. "Your father," he replied, voice trembling with significance. "The leader of the Guardians. But he didn't die like everyone thought. He betrayed them." What? Everything felt like it was crashing down around her. The truth transformed under her fingertips. "No, you have to understand. He faked his death, left the organization, and started anew, erasing all connections, including you, Alice." The weight of his words crashed over her, sending a wave of nausea through her. "Why would he do that?" Her voice cracked, disbelief spilling out. "He was my father!" Suddenly, a loud bang resonated from outside, followed by frantic shouting. The van rocked slightly. Alice's heart raced. "What's happening?" "Stay down," the masked man shouted, ducking low in his seat. The historian's face transformed, panic flashing in their eyes. "They found us." They scrambled to look out the window. "You're here!" The masked driver turned the key. The engine roared to life, but the tension in the air was suffocating. Seconds felt like hours as they sat there, revving in place. Then, Alice's world shattered anew. The masked driver ripped off his mask, revealing Jason. "I've been looking for you, Alice," he breathed, his eyes wide with desperation and something darker. "Jason?" she gasped, disbelief twisting her gut. "What are you doing here?" "I had to protect you," he said, urgency piercing his words. "I didn't know how dangerous it was, until now." Her heart raced. How long had he known? Had everything been a lie? Her world shifted under her as old love twisted into muddied betrayal. Before she could ask, the back doors flew open. A figure loomed, silhouetted against the chaos. A familiar face, a voice that clawed at memory. "You're just like him, but you can't escape." Alice's breath quickened. "Who are you?" As the truth swirled and stormed around her, the weight of her life shattered again, this time in a way she never saw coming. Who were these people? What legacy had she inherited? And why did it feel like she could lose everything in an instant? The darkness drew closer, shadows folding over her life like a cloak, leaving her desperate for answers. Alice's mind spun as she processed Jason's words. Her heart thudded in rhythm with her racing thoughts. The looming threat outside felt like a weight pressing down on her chest, tightening with every breath. The familiar face of Jason, shifted into someone unrecognizable, tangled in shadows. "What do? You mean you've been looking for me?" she stammered, confusion knotting her thoughts. Before he could answer, the figure outside, the one who had shouted about her blood, stepped closer, a chill creeping into the air. "Don't trust him, Alice." His voice sliced through the chaos. "He's part of it." "Part of what?" Alice demanded, her voice trembling with fear and anger. Jason's expression twisted into something hard and guarded, and the masked man's presence suddenly felt suffocating. "Your father's betrayal. You don't understand." The stranger's eyes flashed with a sense of urgency. "He led this whole thing. The Guardians tried to save people, but it turned on them. They weren't the heroes they claimed to be." Silence fell heavily. In the van, the masked driver, Jason, glared at the man. "Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about." "I know enough," the man shot back. "He's not just your husband, Alice. He's connected to them." "No, you're wrong," Jason barked, his voice rising. "I've never even seen you before." "Then why did you hesitate?" The stranger pressed, closing in. "Why didn't you tell her you knew?" Before Jason could muster a response, the air in the van thickened. A fight was brewing. Shadows dancing as fear crackled like static. Alice felt sweat bead at her temples. "What are you saying?" she whispered, her voice barely holding together. But then, in a swift and shocking movement, the man lunged forward, grabbing Alice's wrist tightly. "You have to listen to me. They're here. It won't stop until they take you." Suddenly, a loud crash sounded from the front of the van. Bullets pierced the air, rattling the sides. The driver swerved, trying to evade the chaos unfolding. Panic erupted. Alice's heart raced as she ducked instinctively, pulling the historian down with her. "What's happening?" Jason yelled. "Hold on!" The van careened, tires screeching against the pavement. But amidst the violence outside, something clicked in Alice's mind. "No, I can't be part of this." But there was no time to dwell. The man's grip tightened, panic etched on his face. "Alice, please, if you stay. With him, you're putting yourself in danger. He hides the truth." "Get off me!" she screamed, shaking him away. The last 4 words echoed painfully in her mind. Suddenly, Jason gasped. His face paled as the van lurched violently. "Alice, behind you!" Out of nowhere, the side door flung open, and a second masked figure appeared, eyes wild and hungry. "We've got to take her now!" The confrontation spiraled into chaos. Jason lunged to protect her, but before she could process the scene, the masked stranger behind Alice began to pull her away. "No, we don't have much time." In the melee, Alice felt her world fracture. Everything around her fell into disarray. The last thing she heard before they tore her from Jason's grip was, "You'll never understand what's at stake. Your blood binds you to a history of darkness." One moment altered everything. As she was yanked from that universe, a universe she thought she knew, questions flooded her mind. Who was Jason, really? What was the truth behind her parents? And what dark legacy was she now bound to? The moment felt surreal, and as her vision blurred, her last sight was Jason's anguished expression fading into the distance. What had just happened? Who could she trust now, with everything shattered? Alice was pulled from the van, her heart racing. Confusion turned to panic as she stumbled onto the street, disoriented. The faces of strangers rushed past her, blurred with fear and urgency. Where was she? Why had they dragged her away? The masked figure, who she now knew was an enemy, tugged her into an alley, away from the chaos of the street. The air felt thicker, each breath heavy with uncertainty. "You have to understand. They'll come for you. They'll use your—" "Stop," Alice shouted, her voice raw. "What do you even know about me?" "Everything," he shot back. "You're not safe. Not here." He scanned the alley, eyes wild. "Your father, he didn't just leave. He was trying to protect you from something terrible." The weight of his words hung between them, pressing down like the humidity in the air. What does that even mean? But before he could respond, a blaring siren rang out, echoing through the narrow space. Panic flooded her veins. "Run!" he urged, and they took off down the alley, her pulse pounding in her ears. As they turned corner after corner, the noise of the street faded, replaced by her frantic breaths and the pounding of their feet against the pavement. Just as they rounded another corner, a figure stepped into the light. A woman with dark hair, a determined gaze that pierced through the shadows. "Stop!" she called, voice commanding. Alice froze, heart skidding to a halt. Did she recognize her? "Zoe?" the masked man murmured, eyes widening. In recognition. "You shouldn't be here." Alice's heart sank at the sight of yet another familiar face. "Who are you?" she demanded, feeling cornered. "What's happening?" But in that moment, everything shifted. The woman took a step closer, eyes darting between Alice and the masked man. "He's lying to you. It's time you knew the truth." "What truth?" Alice whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. Zoe's expression darkened, betrayal curling her lips. "You think you can just walk away from this? You don't realize who you really are." "No more secrets," the masked man interjected, his voice rising. "Alice has a right to know." "Then tell her," Zoe snapped, turning her fierce gaze back to Alice. "You think your father was innocent? He was the architect of the Guardians. That organization was built on lies. He sacrificed his own people to maintain a facade." Alice's breath caught in her throat. "What are you saying?" Before Zoe could answer, a commotion erupted from the street, police officers streaming toward them, their shouts slicing through the tension. "Get on the ground!" In an instant, the masked figure lunged at Alice, pulling her into a dark doorway just as chaos unleashed outside. She felt his grip tighten, the warmth of his body against hers. "Stay close," he hissed, eyes darting wildly. "We need to get through this." But everything felt wrong. Alice's pulse raced, her thoughts a whirlwind. "You're telling me my father was a monster?" she pressed, fighting against the rising tide of fear. "He had to make choices," the masked man insisted, desperation flooding his voice. "He did it to protect you." In that moment, a deafening bang shattered the air. The building shook, and Alice's heart dropped into her stomach. The officers had drawn weapons, securing the area. "Alice, get down!" Zoe shouted, barely a whisper in the chaos. Light flickered, illuminating the alley, and for the briefest moment, Alice caught her reflection in a shattered window. Something clicked in her mind, a realization that sent shockwaves through her. Then it happened, a blinding flash, an explosion of sound. "Get out! Everyone out!" Screams erupted around her, and the masked man grabbed her hand. "This way, now!" In the chaos, Alice glanced back to see Zoe collapsing, shock on her face. But it was the last thing she saw before the world around her exploded into confusion and darkness. As they scrambled to escape, the truth loomed like a dark storm. Was her father truly a villain? And who could she trust now? With explosions ringing in her ears, dread settled deep in her bones. Nothing was as it seemed, and the danger was far from over. As the chaos erupted around them, Alice's mind raced. The roar of the explosion still lingered in her ears, But now it was blended with frantic shouts and the sound of feet pounding on asphalt. The masked man pulled her deeper into the shadows, a mixture of desperation and fear lighting his eyes. But then she caught a glimpse of Zoe, her expression frozen in terror as she crouched behind a wrecked vehicle. "She's here, in the alley," a voice yelled from the street, piercing through the confusion. "We have to go," the masked man urged. But a flash of something in Zoe's eyes caught Alice's attention. "Zoe," she shouted, instinctively reaching out. "What do you know?" The masked figure tugged her back, keeping her hidden from view. "Isn't the time," but it was. Right then, the truth felt like a live wire between them, crackling with unspoken words. "I need to know!" she yelled again. Suddenly, without warning, a figure stepped into the alley. A tall man with a commanding presence. He held a gun. Alice's breath caught. It was Jason, but not the Jason she knew. His eyes, once filled with concern, were now cold, determined. "Let her go!" he commanded, voice steely. "What's going on?" Alice trembled, the weight of disbelief pressing down. "Jason, what are you doing?" His gaze sharpened, jaw clenched. "You don't understand, Alice. You never understood. They're using you. Your father, he's alive, and he wants you back." "What are you talking about?" The words slipped from her mouth, confusion and anger swirling. But the moment of clarity shattered as Jason turned to the masked man with a fierce intensity. "You were supposed to protect her, not drag her into this mess." The masked man stepped forward, hands shaking. "I tried, but it's bigger than both of us. They're coming to finish what they started." "Who's coming?" Alice interjected, the reality of danger creeping in. "What started?" In that heartbeat, something shifted in Jason's expression, a flicker of pain. "Your father was a part of something dark, but he's not the monster you think. He didn't want to abandon you. He wanted to protect you from them." "From who?" Alice gasped. "What have you hidden from me?" Before Jason could answer, the alley erupted with noise. A swarm of agents flooded in, clad in black, like shadows come alive. A chorus of shouts and splintering orders filled the air. "Get down!" someone yelled, and chaos erupted again. Alice barely registered the movement as the masked man shoved her aside to shield her, while Jason swung into action, fear replaced by frantic determination. "Run, Alice, now!" Everything moved in slow motion. She felt adrenaline surge through her, but instinct kept her frozen. Not knowing what was safe, not knowing who to trust. Her questions boiled, spilling into the turmoil. Just then, one agent lunged at Jason, grabbing his arm, and in a flash, they collided. Fumbling, struggling, a shot rang out. "Jason!" Alice screamed, all the layers of disbelief tearing apart. She lunged forward, but the masked man caught her, pulling her back. "Don't! He'll be all right!" he insisted, his grip firm but trembling. "Look!" Zoe shouted, pointing down the alley. In that instant, a blinding light cut through the darkness. A massive explosion surged from the other end of the alley, engulfing everything in flame and smoke. The shockwave slammed into her, knocking her off her feet. The world spun, and as Alice fell to the ground, the dust swirling like a shroud, she saw. The masked man, pushing Jason aside, took the full force. He was thrown against the wall like a rag doll, collapsing into the debris. "No!" Alice's voice erupted, deafening in her own ears. Her heart shattered at the sight. It was the one person who had fought to save her. Then Zoe knelt beside Jason, fear entwined with urgency. "Help me." But deep inside, everything felt wrong. The panic surged, but a sense of clarity crept forth. "What is happening?" she whispered, mind reeling. The world had narrowed, leaving only the question: how many lies were tied to her existence? "Get away from him!" she shouted, rising and stepping forward. But the truth lingered, hanging between them like the smoke in the air. Was Jason her enemy, or had they all been pawns in a twisted game? As the chaos unfolded around her, Alice grappled with the weight of her life, every secret unspooling in the smoke. Who am I, really? But the darkness devoured her thoughts as confusion and fear spiraled into a vortex of unanswered questions. And just then, a voice echoed in the distance, one she never expected to hear. Alice. The sound wrapped around her, heartbeat racing, deep, familiar, and haunting, like an old song buried in memory. She spun around, straining to see through the haze. "Daddy!" The whisper formed, both hopeful and terrified. Because if he was truly alive, what else was real? Alice felt her heart racing. The sound of her father's name hung in the air, heavy with what it promised. She turned, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, but the chaos around her blurred her vision. The smoke, the voices, nothing made sense. "Daddy," she whispered again, desperate. She had dreamed of this moment, but now dread wrapped around her like a wet blanket. "Stay close," the masked man shouted, pulling her against the wall for cover. Outside, shouts erupted, and Alice clenched her fists, fighting the urge to break free. But just as she opened her mouth to ask more, a figure stepped from the smoke. It was a woman, tall, with fierce eyes and hair that glimmered in the flames. As she emerged into the fading light, recognition struck Alice like a thunderbolt. "Lily," Alice breathed, her heart dropping. The last time she saw her mother, she'd been running from danger, swallowed by shadows. But now she stood there, alive, just as she had longed for. Her mother's eyes were filled with sorrow and something darker. Fear. "Mother," Alice cried, taking a step forward. But instinct kicked in. Something was off. "No!" Lily shouted, her voice fraying as panic flickered. "You need to get away from him." "From who?" Alice demanded, eyes darting between her mother and the masked man. "What is happening? You both know something. Stay back!" the masked man shouted as agents swarmed closer, weapons drawn. But the man stepped closer, jaw clenched. "She's right. You have to trust me. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Alice barked, shaking her head. "You didn't protect me. You hurt me." The tension escalated to a breaking point. Agents surrounded them, shouting, and suddenly the situation ignited. A gunshot rang out, piercing the air. Time slowed as Alice turned her head, just in time to see her mother stagger back, a crimson stain blossoming on her shirt. "Mom!" But the masked man caught her tightly, pulling her back. "No, Alice, don't!" Lily fell to the ground, gripping her wound. "Alice, you need to go." Her voice strained, but determination lit her gaze. "It's too late," the masked man shouted, eyes wide with horror. "Run!" Lily gasped, her face pale but fierce. "You're the only one who can stop this." Alice felt frozen, a tidal wave of emotions crashing over her. Her mother! Her mother! To see her alive had been a dream come true, now twisted into a nightmare. "I can't leave you. The legacy belongs to you," her mother insisted, pushing herself up, the fire in her spirit a stark contrast to her. "Pain! You must find the truth. It's in your blood, Alice." Everything about that moment crashed into her, every lie, every secret. The walls were closing in, shadows twisting, and Alice felt a dawning realization hit. "All my life I've felt different. In that heartbeat, Lily's expression shifted, a storm brewing behind her eyes. It's deeper than you know. You're not just a pawn. You're the key to our past, the one who can end it. What do you mean? Alice could barely process it. But just then, a loud bang echoed, a volley of gunfire erupting from outside, drowning out their conversation. The masked man's grip tightened, and Alice felt a wave of dread. Then, from the corner of her eye, she noticed movement. Jason was back, emerging from the smoke. No longer masked, no longer just her husband. In that instant, everything shifted. A shiver ran through her as she realized, too late, what was truly at stake. Yelling intensified, shots rang out, but it was Jason's eyes that shattered her world. There was no love reflected back at her, only coldness. "Get off her!" he roared, but it was the way he said her name, the hunger in his voice, that made her skin crawl. "Is this your game?" Alice shouted, fear clawing at her chest. "What are you playing at?" His lips curled into a smirk, revealing a darkness she'd never seen. "You don't even know what you're meant to become." Alice's heart dropped. Who was he really? Then another explosion shook the ground, and she heard her mother's agony-filled scream. Time froze. "Get her!" Zoe screamed. But Alice was left reeling, trying to make sense of the unraveling truth about her family, about Jason. And then she understood. The truth was more dangerous than she could ever imagine. What legacy was she meant to carry? And just what did it mean for who she really was? With her mother's blood spilling onto the pavement, Alice realized she was now caught in a web, one that threatened to pull her under. As smoke and chaos surrounded her, she felt the weight of the world closing in. The explosion echoed like thunder, shock waves rippling through Alice, freezing her in place. Time felt suspended, the world blurring around her. Her mother, on the ground, life leaving her in the crimson pool seeping between her fingers. "Mom, no!" Her voice sliced through the chaos. As she dashed forward, she felt the masked man's grip tighten around her wrist. "Don't! You can't!" he pleaded. But Alice was already moving, disobeying the fear pounding in her chest. "Get away from her!" Jason shouted, stepping into view, his eyes fierce, alive with despair. But her gaze remained fixed on Lily, her heart shattering. This was too much. Not her mother. Not like this. "Mom, please!" Alice fell to her knees, pressing her hands against the wound, desperate despite the distance. But it didn't stop the bleeding. The world around her throbbed, voices rising, screams blending into a cacophony. "Alice!" The masked man's voice pulled her back. "We need to go, now!" But the panic in his eyes was clear. He knew there was no escape from this whirlwind. "No!" Alice whimpered, tears pooling in her eyes. "Not without her! Listen to me," he urged, shaking her slightly. "We can still save you. You have to trust me, or this will be for nothing." Just as his words sank in, another explosion shook the ground. The air thick with dust and confusion. Every nerve screamed for her to move, but Alice felt paralyzed, tethered to her mother's pain. The thrumming chaos stilled for a heartbeat, then surged again. Jason's voice pierced through, desperate for connection. "I need you to trust me. We can get out of this." His expression was torn, love mixed with something darker. Alice's heart raced. "You're a part of this too!" Her voice trembled, uncertainty flooding her words. Just then, amidst the bedlam, a shadowy figure stepped forward. An older man, dressed impeccably, yet exuding a strange air of authority. "Alice," he called. voice low and imposing, echoing through the alley. Her stomach twisted in knots. Who was he? The very moment he stepped into the light, recognition struck. You, she gasped. You're my father, he finished, stepping closer, revealing the familiar features burned into her memory. Every emotion collided within her. Anger, confusion, betrayal. I didn't want you to find out like this, but there is no choice now. Why? Each syllable trembled. Why now? Why did you leave me? Things are far more complicated than you know, he replied, pain flickering behind his cold gaze. I created this chaos to protect you from the truth, but now they're coming and you must be ready. Who, Dad? Alice shouted back, desperation spilling over. Suddenly, the masked man hesitated. He's lying, but the moment was shattered as the figure lunged forward, grabbing Alice's wrist, his grip electric. You are more powerful than you know, he declared. The urgency in the air twisted, and just like that, the world caved in. The masked man elbowed her father back, quick and fierce, and a low growl of frustration escaped his throat. You're too late. This is a fight for her life. Then it happened. A gunshot rang out, a burst of chaos unfurling in an instant. Alice felt the heat behind her, caught in the moment. Her father fell, crashing to the ground, blood spreading like ink on paper. Dad! She screamed, the word tearing from her throat, her heart splintering. But just as she threw herself forward, a surge in the air caught her off guard. A gust of energy sweeping through the alley. Everything shifted. The masked man's voice boomed over the turmoil. We're not who you think we are. What? Confusion mingled with heartbreak. The masked man ripped off his disguise, revealing not just any face, but one steeped in familiarity. I'm your brother, Alice. Your twin. The world tilted, rotations of disbelief flooding her. No, that can't be. You're mine! But the truth hung heavy in the air, shockwaves barreling through her. Jason's eyes widened, confusion intersecting with realization, his heartache now mingling with the whirlwind. No way! You're not serious! Alice's mind spun, memories flooding her, all the whispers, all the secrets. What did it mean? As everything she ever knew contorted and shifted, the walls closed in. With that one revelation, every relationship she thought she had shattered like glass. Who could she trust now? As she stood frozen, the chaos swirling, one question echoed painfully in her mind. Had she really been part of a family? Or just another pawn in a game of secrets? Alice felt the weight of everything crashing down around her. Her mother lay on the ground, and the horrifying truth echoed in her mind. You're my brother? She whispered, her heart pounding, feeling the ground shift beneath her. The masked man nodded, eyes filled with fear. Yes, Alice, I didn't want to believe it either, but it's true. We're twins. Our past is tied together in ways we can't escape. But just then, chaos erupted again. Sirens wailed, shadows darted past them, and Jason's eyes were locked on Alice. We need to get out of here, all of us. Ignoring Jason, she stared at her brother, the bond instinctively pulling her closer. Why didn't you find me sooner? No one could. Our parents, he faltered. The weight of their shared history stifling any hope. They tried to protect you by keeping you hidden. I didn't even know until a few days ago. Alice fought back tears. What had this all been for? Her family was meant to be a safe harbor, and now it felt like a storm. Jason took a step forward, urgency biting into his tone. We can't stand here. They'll come for us. Alice, please! I won't leave my brother, she shouted, feeling the fire erupt within her. Suddenly, her mother's voice broke through the fog of confusion. Alice, Lily gasped, gripping her wound, voice strained yet commanding. You must listen. The truth is buried deep, and it's time you rise above it. What does that mean? Alice replied, bewildered, as the sirens grew closer. Your father's organization was built on secrecy, Lily said, pain roiling through her features. They're coming because they fear the legacy that lives within you. In that moment, everything locked into place. You mean I can end this? I can put a stop to it? Yes, her mother's voice soared with strength. You carry their power. Use it to break the cycle. Alice felt a rush of determination as everything she had been through crystallized into purpose. I won't let you down, Mom! But Jason's frantic voice pulsed through the chaos. Come on, Alice, we need to go! As they turned, the sound of footsteps broke the moment. Agents were barreling down the alley, and Jason grabbed Alice's hand tightly. Now, trust me! In the frantic dash towards salvation, Alice glanced back once more at her mother, whose face was painted with both fear and pride. You can do this, Lily shouted. With a surge of adrenaline, they propelled themselves through the alley, dodging shadows and noise. Alice felt the fiery glow of hope mixed with fear, every step pulling her closer to a purpose she didn't fully understand. At the end of the alley, a familiar figure awaited. Zoe, her face etched with concern. You made it, she exclaimed as they rejoined her. Cartwheeling toward the exit, they burst into an open street where the sun painted the horizon. Now what? Jason panted, glancing over his shoulder. Now we unite, Alice declared, heart racing, light igniting in her chest. We face this together. But just as they gathered their strength, a voice rang through the air. There's nowhere left to run, Alice. Her father's figure loomed behind an approaching squad of agents, the shadows lengthening. Alice felt the world tilting again, as uncertainty gripped her heart. And yet, within the turmoil, a fire burned, stronger than fear. In that moment, she understood. This was her legacy. It was time to reclaim her story. With her family at her side, she stood firm. A response welled up, raw and ready. Let's finish this! And with that, the silence fell around them like a shroud, giving way to the chaos that loomed. On the horizon, what awaited them beyond that line? Only time would reveal the depths of their legacy, and Alice was ready to rise. If you want to know what happens next, this is the moment to show your support. Immediately subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this outcome. You must sign up now and don't wait one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions.